ada bersamamu saudara. Beragam warna kita, suku tak selalu sama. Kau aku Indonesia yang disatukan karena cinta. Karena kita Indonesia, jangan pernah terpecah belah. Walau kita berbeda, walau kita tak sama, tetaplah satu kita, kita Indonesia sesungguhnya.
Berkilauan samudra, terbentang khatulistiwa.
Di situ ku ada bersamamu saudara.
Warna kita, suku tak selalu sama.
Kau aku Indonesia yang disatukan karena cinta. Indonesia, jangan pernah terpecah belah. Walau kita berbeda, walau kita tak sama, tetaplah satu kita, kita Indonesia sesungguhnya.
Voice of Indonesia, the overseas service of Radio Republic Indonesia, broadcast in 9 language services: English, French, German, Dutch, Spanish, Arabic, Mandarin, Japanese, and Indonesian. Voice of Indonesia is broadcast via shortwave 3325 kHz and 4755 kHz, and via streaming on voinews.id and RRI Digital on mobile application. We present various programs for you: Diplomatic Forum, The Session, Indonesian Wonder, Miscellany, Let's Speak Bahasa Indonesia, Indonesian pop and regional songs, international musical entertainment, as well as news and information about Indonesia and abroad. Voice of Indonesia, from Indonesia to the world.
Music, dance, art performances from Indonesia and abroad, only on The Session. Every Saturday, 9:15 Jakarta time, only on Voice of Indonesia. RRI Digital with new look.
Programa en español.
Ketinggalan persaingan Voice of Indonesia.
RRI Digital. Available on Google Store and App Store. RRI Digital.
Once upon a time, the angels took bath here. In the legend of Tutumaden, 9 angels descended from the heaven to a pond. They took a bath in a pond belonging to Mama Nua, a young farmer. Mama Nua fell in love. One of the angels, Lumaludu, became his wife. From the fated 2 worlds, a child was born. But one day, Mama Nua made a mistake that forced Lumalundung to return to heaven. The angels said, should their child want to meet her, Mama Nua must bring the child across the forest, river, and mountain, with the sun guiding their path. Lumalundung will be waiting at the end of the journey. Then Mama Nua and his child took the journey until the small family was reunited in the castle of the angels. The legend of Tutumaden ended happily ever after. And it was the story of the most beautiful place that the angels picked, Likupang. One hour away from Manado, this coastal city left a strong impression on first-timers. The people are slow living here. Nobody is in a rush. Everybody follows their own beat. And of course, the majestic landscape. Find the warm and embracing sunrise at Larata Hill. By the light. Voice of Indonesia.
Hello, voice listener, and good morning. Wherever you are, welcome to the special interview with the VOI Talk Morning Talk in Voice of Indonesia. Right now, voice listener, as you know, the government data showing that MSME exports reach 900 billion rupiah, or approximately 55.4 million US dollars as of April this year. It's a progress that has been achieved with hard work from Indonesian Creative Economy Ministry. And let's have a special conversation with the Deputy Minister of Indonesian Creative Economy Ministry, Ibu Irene Umar. How are you today, and good morning?
Good morning, Rise and Shine. How's everyone doing? I'm doing great. Thank you for inviting us.
Yes, thank you so much for joining this program also, Ibu Irene. Okay, so for the first question, without any further ado and dilly-dally, I would like to
we're
ask you...
diving straight into it. Cool.
I would like to ask you, what is the impact to creative economy sector after the Trump announces the lower tariff to 19%?
I think it's all good news for us. For Indonesian, right? I mean, we are pretty adaptive to it. So if we look at the numbers itself, U.S. is undeniably our largest export market with around 10.52 billion or 39% of the creative products export in 2022. And for a long time, right, our exports pretty much for the whole world, everyone was competing at a price level. But I think Indonesia is positioning ourselves in a very good position where we look into the value base. And the position of Indonesia is really good because one, we have a very rich culture. And two, we have the resources to support it. So with the cultural that's available, it creates a range of unique products or indie products that no one actually have in the world, and the ability to produce it with our local craftsmanship. So it's good news after Trump announces the 19% tariffs, especially with the creative industry targeting US as a market. But with the low price points that we have and with the uniqueness of the products that we have, we believe we have a pretty strong USP to dive into the global competition.
Okay, so how do you see the Indonesian creative product export abroad, including to the US and maybe some other countries outside US?
When we look into the creative products, right, there are two type of products. So one is digital, one is non-digital. I think if we want to look at numbers, obviously the numbers will be very heavily skewed towards the non-digital ones, although digital ones are popping up. But when we look at destinations of exports by numbers, it would be Switzerland, Japan, China, and Singapore. But that's based on the number in 2022. But if we look at the recent years, right, with the recent Jumbo, for example, the animation movies, although the first few countries that we exported to was Russian countries, but we also have seen a huge surge or anticipation in Malaysia, Singapore, and Malaysia and Singapore. Those are the two that have started. There are other countries that are lining up as well. And on top of it, when we talk about digital products, you can just quickly Google, right? What are the top games that have won awards globally? And you will see a lot of Indonesian games actually at the top chart, if not winning. So we do have a good combo of both. And hence, it's a pretty diversified portfolio on the creative economy.
Will Indonesia maybe shifts its export destination for creative economy products to maybe other countries than the US after the tariff increase comes into effect? And if it does, as you said, like Malaysia and Singapore, or maybe there are some other countries that Indonesia is maybe wanting to exchange to?
I don't think we would shift, but we'll do geographic expansion actually. So with or without a tariff change, I think one of the focus of the Creative Economy Ministry is to look at the different countries that we have not gone to, and most importantly, the existing countries that we have presence and footprints in, and deepening that relationship. Because trade is a measure of how deep the relationship between two countries is one of the measurement, and hence we'd like to see how we could deepen that with the presence of creative economy. A few things that we have done. One is we have pretty good collaborations with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in making sure that the products that Indonesians have are the informations at least are available to our counterparts through the embassies, Indonesian embassies all over the world. And in Indonesia itself, we have pretty good relationship with the ambassadors that are posted in Indonesia. Because the key is, in Indonesian, there's a saying called "Tak kenal maka tak sayang." If you do not know, then there's no way for you to love anyone. Similar with our products, there will be no demand if people do not know that the products are available. So I think those are a couple of efforts that we are doing other than the more normal routes through social media and so on and so forth.
I see. So there are many rich culture from Indonesia and many rich products that come from Indonesia. And maybe you can tell us what is the most popular products from Indonesia in doing exports from Indonesia, and that is the most wanted from other countries.
Again, if we want to look into numbers, right, we'll be the top three, which is also the top three of the Creative Economy Ministry subsectors. fashion. The reason being because we have batik tenun and songket that's within our portfolio. And I'll give you one very, because Indonesian is fashion. When we talk about fashion, right, it's beyond batik tenun and songket, right? We also have pretty good brands that are ready to wear. So I'll cite a few. When there was exhibitions in Japan, for example, when we bring our sneakers that is pretty posh, polished, modern, versus the sneakers that have the tenun elements into it, the ones that will sell out immediately would be the ones with the tenun element because that infuse the culture uniqueness, the indie feel into it. But in contrast, if it's in the domestic market, I think the reverse will be true, or at least it'll be 50-50, right? So that's something that's pretty interesting. And beyond batik tenun and songket, which is something that is very valuable to us, we also have the perfume industry that's actually gaining tractions. So if you just quickly look into TikTok, for example, for Malaysian crowd, what is the itinerary or what's the must-buy item? The Indonesian perfumes and cosmetics actually top the list on top of fashion. So that's something that's really interesting, right? And so other than fashion, we have our crafts. So the crafts again, it stems back, and I always say that the culture that Indonesian have in the techie world, it will be the source code that no one else have. I mean, the world could claim that it's theirs, but if they visit different countries, it's really closely it's within the fabric of our community, of our society. So anyone could claim it, but the moment you come into the city and you visit the destinations, you know where's the original come from because of that source code that we have. And the third one, I think, is culinary. I mean, that's anyone who loves food are the best people, right? So culinary also topped the chart. And we always say that our rendang is like the Western steak. Right. And a lot of the Westerners, whenever they come to Indonesia, the first thing I like to do is bring them to a Padangese house, a Padangese rumah makan, right? Restaurants. And you would you all you have to do is sit in certain locations and you will notice a couple of requests from the visitors of the restaurant will be asking, can you freeze this because I want to take it home. And those food actually travel far. And so it's interesting that we have that culinary and all these three, right? It could be used as a diplomacy tools for ambassadors as well. So when we talk about food diplomacy, last year we entered into sambal diplomacy with the UK with the UK ambassador, where the sambal diplomacy pretty much meaning, for example, having fish and chips and combining it with sambal mata or sambal ijo. You know that combination is bombastic, right? So that's one of the things that we do to infuse our local culture into different cuisine.
Okay, so about distribution of the products that is being prepared, especially in Indonesia, I would like to shift the question a little bit about the creative economy products producers in Indonesia. Are they evenly distributed? Because mainly the main products is being made, especially here in Jakarta, Indonesia, and not to any other region. And or are they still concentrated in the few region? And how do you see this potential?
So I think the previous I left out something on the previous questions that you have. So other than fashion, crafts, and culinary, our digital products are also out there. So whenever people talk about the gaming industry, everyone will be saying that the gaming industry in Indonesia is a consumer-based market. We do not produce anything, and that is absolutely not true because 95% of the games that's produced by Indonesians are actually exported instead of consumed locally. So you could quickly just Google up a couple of titles like Coral Islands or Coffee Talk, A Space for Unbound, and those are titles that are pretty big hits globally and have been winning global recognitions in Steam. Steam is the platforms for PC games, in console, which is Xbox, PlayStations, and Nintendo, uh, other than mobiles, right? So we actually dominate Steam and the console games on those two. And as you can see, the distributions is clearly worldwide. Now, if we look into the distributions on the flip side of the supply side on where this come from, I like to position Jakarta actually not as the main producers, but Jakarta is like the hub for sales, where everybody who wants to buy something, they'll come to Jakarta and find out what products are available. But the distributions of the supplies are pretty vast. And although we would say that the concentration by data is in Java Island, But that is simply because a lot of people who are based in Java Island would know better on how to commercialize it, and hence more people are aware of it. But there's more and more demands of people, especially from the Western world and Japanese, who come to Indonesia in search for the hidden gems. And that's why in our ministry, we launch a treasure hunt. This is the first stage for us to consolidate the data, and it's called as aircraft hunt. So if you go into a website, you can go into hunt.aircraft.go.id, and this is the first stage, the first versions of it, where all products could actually come in and put their products there. So the discoverability will be there. And what we do as a ministry is we try to discover products that then curate them so that we can match them to the programs that we have, and also to the events that we hosted. So it's working out pretty well right now. And every time we go, not only within Java Islands, but beyond Java, we always try to look for these hidden gems, because sometimes they might not have heard of treasure hunt that we are doing, or aircraft hunt that we are doing, and hence we inform them through communities or directly and through associations as well. So look, the country have more than 17,000 islands, right? And 1,300 ethnic group. And I always go back and say that, look, guys, this is our source code, really. And the treasure that we have actually is inherent within our daily life. And the problem is we are pretty humble people, right? And as humans, we tend not to see what we are good at or what we have, and we do it on a daily basis. Sometimes, in a way, we take it for granted. So I urge all Indonesians to start speaking to your parents, to your grandparents, to your great grandparents, to understand your culture a bit better. Because with your modern knowledge, I believe that there's something that you can be proud of, and there's something that you could share with the world. And in the end of the day, that will actually bring abundance to the country.
Okay, so I would like to ask something. It's out of the question for the maybe the discussion, but you seem to know quite well about the gaming industry, especially the gaming industry from Indonesia. So maybe I would like to ask, for the games from Indonesia, what is your most favorite game? Because for me, myself, I like Coffee Talk because
Oh
it's
my
a chill
God.
game where you can just enjoy, sit back, and maybe give some coffee, maybe becoming a digital barista for a real life people in video games. So maybe I would like to ask you, what is your favorite game between the games that you've just mentioned?
You're putting me on spot over there. If I choose one, I'll be grilled by all the rest. I will go by genre, right? One genre that I seldom play, but I was very impressed last week was a horror game. So I usually do not play that because I was traumatized by Dread Out. Because Dread Out is such a great game, right? And but the music that came with Dread Out, it actually spooked me out. So if we talk about local games, there are a lot of games that's out there, and Coffee Talk is definitely, I can't say the top of the chart, but one of the favorites, and one that I'm very proud of, because if we talk about Coffee Talk, right, distributions of it, obviously almost 100% is distributed overseas. 95% is distributed overseas. And with Coffee Talk, the reason why I'm so proud of it is because it has gone across subsectors. So if you go to Japan, if you're lucky, check out Parco website. So Parco and Coffee Talk, they do have a pop-up store to sell coffee. And they are also the first one that sells the gacha balls of Coffee Talk. Until now, I haven't got my hands on those gacha balls yet because it's only available in Japan. And they also have the Fino, and they also have really good plushies as well that's available in US and Canada. And in Indonesia, sometimes when they have events, they will bring those. If you want to see it, you can come to check out in our office. We have some of those available. Not for sale, but it's for collections. So I do love the Indonesian gaming industry for a few reasons. One, because I've been in the industry for almost 10 years as an investor and as a venture capital. And I've been privileged and honored to watch all these companies grow as an industry. And the reason why I love it so much is because the people within the game industry, they are they are really good people, and they're really driven by passion. And if you know their stories, a lot of them have been kicked out of the house because they choose to be in the game industry, right? And it's rare for people to say, "Hey, I want to be in gaming," and get approval from your parents, right? I mean, we are in Asian countries, so the grit that they have shown and they have consistently proved over the years. I feel it's something that I admire and I'm inspired of. At the same time, the competition between them is virtually non-existent because they would sit together and they actually form a prosperity coalitions on the early days between different studios so they could help each other level up. And that resulted in quite a number of collaboration between games. Of course, there are drama here and there, like in any industry, any relationships, but those relationships stems very deep, and that's why I really love the gaming industry, and that's why we are pushing very hard on getting more and more Indonesians to know game industry, the games that are available in Indonesia. And I only ask for one chance, not only gaming, all across. Try out Indonesian products. You would be surprised.
Indeed, I agree with your opinion because the gaming industry, especially like the games like Dread Out that you've just mentioned, it is, even though it is scary, but it can also share lots of Indonesian lores and mythical beings to other countries to make them attract to Indonesia, especially the other one because it is such a good media, especially in this modern era. And I would like to ask you, is there any specific target maybe, and can the games being helped by the creative economy sector to be able to be promoted abroad, especially outside of Indonesia, maybe like in the G2A gaming or the E3 games, maybe if they can have the chance, maybe like the games, if we follow the example of like the Upin Ipin adventures, maybe being promoted to other countries to be known better. Is there a chance from the creative economy industry to help them, the media, promote the gaming industry from Indonesia?
So, if we go specific on the games, right, I'll ask you how many hours we have, but I'll keep it short. Domestically, if you go to, we start off with Soekarno-Hatta Airport because I believe the airport is the gateway for people's movement. And so we started off since December to have a game corner for people to know more about what games are available in Indonesia. Second, sorry, we also collaborated with hotels in Indonesia. One of them is Art Hotel. So in certain branches, you can go in and say, "Can I borrow a PlayStation?" or "I want to play a PlayStation," and the PlayStation will be served to your room, not a dish. You have to buy your own popcorns and French fries. And the PlayStation is preloaded with Indonesian games. Now, when we talk about overseas, right, there are a couple of things that we do. In Osaka World Expo right now, in collaboration with University of Indonesia and Association of Games Indonesia, we do showcase our games in Osaka World Expo Indonesian Pavilion. And every time we go abroad, I will be bringing not only digital games but also board games that are really good as well to our embassies. And I just came back from Korea, and right now there are Koreans who are learning Bahasa who are using those card games to play and to learn Bahasa. But in a more like to your answer to your note about conferences, we do support some trips to go to conferences. And so that one we work in collaborations with the Ministry of Comdigi, Communication and Digital and Communications, because the last thing that we want is to have multiple ministries pop up in international events. We are all united as one under President Prabowo's directions is that there's no longer any sectoral ego. So when we present ourselves overseas, it's not by ministries, it's by our flag, red and white, Indonesia. So we do support them. Right now, I think there's the next one that there's Gamescom in Cologne, and there's also Tokyo Game Show where our delegates will be there as well.
I see. So, my final question for today's is, what is your biggest wishes for as Deputy Minister of Creative Economy for Indonesian creative economic sector, especially for Indonesia, and what is your wish to be held maybe in like 2 to 5 years?
My wish is to be able to, because just now we go heavy on gaming, right? But there are 17 subsectors that's under economy creative, and this is our first year. And first year being a ministry, what we want to do right now is to establish a very strong foundations. One of the way for us to establish the strong foundations is to identify who are the players so that it's distributed beyond Java Islands, because our talent pool is really literally everywhere. By having the talents distribution map out and understanding the gap of the talents, and we can fill it in, right? It's about talent empowerment, it's capacity building. The second one is also okay. When we talk about foundation, A is talent. Second is providing them with the tools, the knowledge, the expertise available. Because if you have the knowledge but you don't have the tools available, then you can't do much, right? So having that ecosystem or the universe for them to be able to create and produce good work, that's something that we do as well by the foundation. And on that sub one will be collections of data, so the integrations will be there. One example, if for example you would like to create a product and you do not know where to produce it or who you can connect to, it'll be difficult to actualize your dreams and your plan. So what we do under our so Aircraft Hunt will ultimately go into a database, right? The database will be shared openly with everyone so that it's easier for people to matchmake digitally. Right now, we do it manually in person or through WhatsApp or through connections that we know, and we put them together and matchmake them. But going forward, there has to be that database that everyone can access into. With that strong foundations and with collaborations with different ministries, for example, Ministry of Culture serve as a source code provider, source of inspirations for our players to do global and national, right? So with that foundations that we have, the next thing that we want to do is really to go all out to distribute, amplify, and market what Indonesia have on the creative sector. Because if we want to be the engine of growth, right, then we really need to make sure commercialization will work. So those are the two-step phases that we will have, that we want to sort of put together in place to support the president's visions towards the golden era of Indonesia. But what is key is this first 5 years is key to establish the foundations. Without the foundations, it will be very difficult for us to move forward. And what's the best thing is creative economy has so many lowest hanging fruits that right now we just have to put everyone together and then let's march forward together, because together we are stronger.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibu Irene, for your time and your answer. I really wish the best for the Indonesian creative economy, and ask yourself to make your wishes come through. And maybe just because you mentioned Red Hat, maybe play the 2 games before the 3rd game release after this in next year. Okay, thank you. Interview of VOI Talk, and I'll see you in another episode of VOI Talk, only on Voice of Indonesia, from Indonesia to the world.
Kilauan samudra terbentang khatulistiwa, di situ ku ada bersamamu saudara. Beragam warna kita.